Greetings and welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, trying to be smart podcast covering all things new and classic Trek. I was trying to find the word that Lucian says to teleport them the first time, but it was just like, rah-da-da-da. I'm your captain, Mariah Gossett. With me in the view screen, we have
Clyde Haynes. Again, hi, friend Mariah, friend captain. Like, I don't know what this thing is, but apparently it's going to be in every episode.
And I'm like, believe in the magic that you know, Paul, to touch it.
Huzzah. Tonight we are talking about the Infinite Vulcan, as well as the Magicks of Megas-tu from the Star Trek The Animated Series. We're going to dig on into it. This is a wild ride. But first, just a couple of reminders. You can subscribe and share the show from Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Paul, where can people find links as well as our Patreon?
Our link is at StarTrekPod.co, and feel free to join our Patreon for access to our community Slack, which will probably change the Discord in the near future.
In the meantime, we were having fun doing the watch-alongs. We all watched.
There was the Strange New World trailers, Chupi. I did not know this.
Did you not watch it, Paul? It's in the Slack.
Oh. I did not see it either.
Oh, I would do a live watch along, but they will totally kick us off of YouTube because of the content.
Yeah.
But it's great. I'm excited about it. We can review it next episode, but my hot freak is 10 out of 10. Very fun.
No notes.
Nice.
No notes.
Nice.
Very, very fun. Clyde, if people are hanging out with us live in the chat, how can they let us know if they have a comment or a question they want us to pay attention to?
I was going to say something clever, but I'll just say type capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod in the chat. And we will take a look at your question, your comment, your query, your thought-provoking, extemporaneous speech, whatever you got, we'll take a look at it. And in a moment when you want to let us know what you think of the overall thoughts of the episode or episodes in this case, just type capital HF in the chat and we'll take a look at your musings.
Yeah, you can also, just use the power that you believe in and we'll probably hear it in our minds,
Sure.
That can definitely happen. Okay, let's dive into, we'll just do hot freaks about, I think, both of these episodes. Yeah. Let's see if we come back after I play this video. Here we go. Hot freaks! Oh, yeah, we came back. Great.
You made it.
What did y'all think, Paul?
I'm not gonna lie. The last two episodes before this, in the last episode, I go like, oh, those were rough watches. And these two episodes, it's like you go through the deeper valley of like, oh, this is boring, cringe, or whatever, and you come out on the other side of like, it's so bad that it's amazing. And I was like going, oh my god, I wish I was high and drunk. I could only see myself in the writers or the animation room because people just lost their minds making these two episodes. It literally could be that they were all on LSD, all at the same time. It's a wonder it got made. It's 10 out of 10, no notes.
Clyde.
Yeah. We talk often on this show about having to remember when it was made, right? And we say 73. And my first thought after watching, or really in the middle of these episodes, were like, the drug culture back in the 70s was something serious that I don't think I fully understood. And these are definitely episodes that I would say I would be absolutely surprised if people weren't high when they wrote them. But I definitely think that it's meant to be watched high, which is weird for a Saturday morning cartoon. I imagine in that situation, no, it's an amazing episode.
Imagine yourself with like Fruity Pebbles, like your fourth bowl.
You're on a contact high from your parents smoking doobies.
Imagine you're like your 4-year-old and you have more sugar than like it would cause a 6-year-old diabetes. Like that's like you would. Oh my god, this would be the most amazing thing ever.
Paul, that's what you needed to do, was consume a giant like a trough bowl of Fruity Pebbles, and then these episodes make sense.
Well, you're probably not considering my insulin resistance.
I mean, because I kept staring at the screen.
Yes, right. You couldn't turn away. It's like a car crash.
I mean, no, I turned away a couple times, but as I was staring at the screen, I was just like, what's happening? I mean, you've got plant people.
The Phylos?
And a giant human.
Clyde?
Like, no, I like
Are you
plants.
anti like big person?
No,
I did not know this about
hey,
you.
No, I like plants, you know. Poison ivy's kind of hot, so that works for me. Like I was just trying to figure out like what's happening, and then the next episode, and literally it's just like I got a Lucifer mint. Like what's happening?
I really liked these. I like these episodes way more than last week. These were fun. These were bananas. These were what I wanted. You know,
bananas. That's the way to go. Bananas.
Bananas. Absolutely.
Bananas.
Correct. And it was just like, yeah, that perfect combination of like, oh, this is so weird and wacky. And what's interesting is both of these scripts, at least from what I have found in digging. So the first one, The Infinite Vulcan, was written by Walter Koenig. So like
Chekhov.
It's the first time a cast member has written for the show.
Love it.
He apparently did not enjoy the writing process with Gene Roddenberry whatsoever.
Oh.
There was apparently a lot of changes, and by the time he got into the voiceover session, he didn't recognize any of the dialogue that he had written. So apparently Gene, as well on the second episode, did the same thing, did heavy rewrites of these episodes. So
wow, double fisting pints, maybe?
You know, he was having a time, but yeah, because the Magicks of Megas-tu was also originally pitched as a episode for the third season of the live action show.
Sure.
And it was originally supposed to be God, not Lucifer. And they were going to have God presented as a giant, like, light figure, not in any kind of humanoid body.
What does God need with a starship?
This is where Gene was really excited about this idea. But the network said no. So they changed it to a devil character.
What's really funny, like, if you have Paramount Plus, which I assume most people do, is the thumbnail of the Megas-tu episode. You see our three mains looking at the back of the devil character, and they cut it in such a way that it looks like he's just showing their junk, and
and he's like, "What's going on?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
and you don't see that he has hair legs, like goat legs. And so it just looks like oh, this is like either intentional or unintentional cropping. Either way, it's
incredible.
10 out of 10, no notes.
Yeah. But going back, so the Infinite Vulcan, for those who have not watched it, essentially is, once again, our crew are exploring a planet. They get to the planet, and the beings there are all plants. They are plants that have the ability to think and speak and do all these things. They have their own translator devices, and they've encountered people before. And the person who has come there is this like crazy guy, Stavros I can't say it, Kinkusius, who has been cloning himself repeatedly, and initially brought a disease to the planet that killed off almost their entire species, but then helped to bring them back in some way. And now he is trying to find an additional clone. He becomes real into Spock and attempts to clone, and does, I guess, clones a giant version. And we now have Spock 2.
Spock 2.
Who inevitably stay on the planet to try to rehabilitate and bring back more of the Phylos, is sort of the long log line of this episode. But there's so many things in between. I wanted to ask, what did y'all think of the dragons that have the like coil arms? The sound effects are incredible.
Yeah, they are.
They're also the same. It's essentially the same thing. It's like
it's all great. I like it reminds me of watching cartoons of that era. Like, and I know if you're like a millennial or actually like a baby millennial or a Zer or an alpha, like you have no idea what it is to watch a cartoon and not have it photorealistic but like at some time.
I mean, that's not true. Like Rick and Morty, like most cartoons have a style to them, you know?
Yes, but like this style,
it's very flat.
It's imposed upon by the technology of the time and the
clacking away over there, Clyde.
Like whatever.
Trying to take some notes.
And so you're like going, oh my god, they're just repeating the same movement over and over again in a way that like it's just so nostalgic to me.
Yeah, there's multiple times. I mean, this is technically from the Magicks of Megas-tu when they're all like flying off planet to come visit Earth, and it's just literally the one cell, and they're just like, phew! Like they just like you can tell someone just went bloop, and they captured it, and that was it.
So here's one of the things that I was thinking about. Again, trying to transport myself to 73. Right? Like now we have all these really sophisticated sounds. And I just remember seeing these old clips of people like the radio shows who were doing sounds for the kind of the radio dramas where they had all this equipment and they'd be like having these things and to make bang.
Yeah. Yes. Lots of slide whistles, lots of just like steel plates or not like tin plates to make thunder and lightning sounds. Like
that is what I was like thinking about the entire time I was hearing the sound effects in this episode. It's like grassroots, kind of just like, hey, what does this sound? What should this sound like? I know it's 73, but it has a certain 60s kind of feel to it for me.
Sure.
And so it kind of took me back to thinking like this is what it was probably like when you were producing a radio show.
Like here's the thing though, like I imagine like looking at this at the time because like, oh, this is solid. I don't know, like we look back 51 years and go like, oh, isn't this kitsch, is this quaint, is this stuff, but like at the time like it might literally have been like, oh, this is a solid show. I don't know if anyone goes like, this is a good show.
But I think that's the issue that I struggle with is because Star Trek has always been known as whatever time period you look at it and you go, oh my goodness, this is amazing for where it is. When you think about the special effects and what they're doing, Star Trek always feels like
pushing.
We're showing you something that you haven't seen before. I think that
really started in the 90s though. In the movies.
In the movies. Okay. But what about the original series? Did you not think the original series was pushing things to have you think about things you had seen before? No?
I definitely think like socially it was like, it was pushing.
But not in like in art, not in the realm of like
cinema.
Yeah, like the craft of like of like special effects or like sets and stuff. Cause like I think about like the attention to detail to things of like I Love Lucy or on I Dream of Jeannie and like the way the sets and like I Dream of Jeannie had some fun kind of hokey special effects to it at times. But yeah, I don't know if I'd have to look at else what was like around it culturally movie wise, but like we're getting pretty close to some pretty incredible practical special effects. We're moving towards Star Wars. We're moving towards Blade Runner. Like we're not that far off,
Yeah, I tend to think of its contemporaries as I was looking up like Battlestar Galactica, the original, which was a 78. So a little later than that. Yeah. And the corniest one ever, well, like Buck Rogers.
Don't diss on Buck Rogers.
I'm not dissing on Buck Rogers. But Buck Rogers was 79.
He was in 25th century.
Yes, in the 25th century. I'm just trying to think of like what were the other sci-fi
2001:
properties?
A Space Odyssey came out in 68.
Did they come in 68 or they come in 58?
68.
Okay.
Yeah, Planet of the Apes was also 68. Barbarella was 68.
Barbarella. That's what it felt like.
Yes,
animated series.
That's it. Yes,
it's like
Barbarella is the contemporary. Yes, that's what it felt like.
Yes, this was. I remember we talked a few. This did win an Emmy for kids programming for the second season. So I'll be interested to see what upgrades we get going into the second season.
So the answer is yes. The way you watch this is inebriated. Gotcha.
like these two, like I said, like I was watching. Like, to be honest, like I was really excited about when you see the little walking plant.
Mm-hmm. I'm obsessed with that little pink plant with the little legs. I was like, oh, I loved her.
The poisonous one?
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
It was so cute.
When are we going to learn? When are our people?
It walked, it rerouted.
I love the tradition of the cutest things are the deadliest things in Star Trek.
We just had an episode about tribbles.
Yeah.
And the very next week, you see something that possibly looks like a tribble. And yet touch it? Come on.
Well, I mean,
man.
you can touch a tribble, you know.
But you shouldn't. You should look at it and go, I don't know what that is. The last thing I should do is just reach my hand down and grab it.
It was so cute. I get it. It was so cute. Sulu was right.
And so like I look at that and I was like, oh, this is going to be really interesting. And then like the coil birds came in, and I have to say I blacked out. I go like, oh, why is this so hard for me to like? Let's rewind it again, and I blacked out again. And this is in the middle of the day.
You took a nap? Is that what you mean by blacked out? Because I'm like, you don't drink.
I don't know. Like I go like, oh, what just happened? And so I watched it today, and I was like, oh, I don't know why I kind of blacked out. But. I don't know. Maybe it had after watching Mingus, like I was able to inoculate myself from the awesomeness. But like I was like, oh, these two episodes are just so crazy that like my brain went
off. I think I liked a lot of the creature design and the animation in Infinite Vulcan, but I think the ridiculousness of the Magicks of Megas-tu was so wild, and I don't think I've ever seen that episode. So I think it was just such a like wild ride to go on that I was like, oh wow. I wonder. I went down a deep rabbit hole about like I was like, was this their answer to like Satanic Panic? You know?
Sure, yeah.
But it's a little early. But then I looked. This is post Rosemary's Baby. It's the same year as The Exorcist. So there's just like something. It's like It's post, the Tate murder, and so there's like I think something just in the zeitgeist of like. There has to be a pentagram. Like we have to summon the devil. Like this is just like the standard.
I think that was like my favorite scene. It's not like Kirk versus the Pilgrim, but like
it's Spock doing Wicca in his bedroom.
Exactly. Spock, pentagram, and chess piece. I was going like, this is the law of the use.
And then when Sulu like conjures up like a hot lady, and then the devil's like just kidding, it's me. Like
it was, it's very like you have to go for it. Like you have to be in it to win it.
Yeah, and it felt like a very interesting and kind of logical predecessor to honestly the Q storylines that we get.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because it seems like here are these people who can just do anything, and I like
Pilgrim Qs.
Yeah, because they just chose the form of Pilgrim to like essentially do a morality test on Kirk.
Well, and they were all burned at the stake, that was the history, right? That's why they're all pissed off.
Yeah, I was like, I thought it was all women, but that was maybe just in my history books. I
don't know what
Choopy's
you're
like
reading.
the big wizard battle at the Ministry of Magic in Harry Potter was stolen from the battle in Megas-tu. It did remind me of like I think it's the Sword and the Stone. There's like the wizard battle moment in that where they're just like all these different elements kind of flying around. Yeah, I cackled. What's the helmsman who has the third arm? I don't know if we ever give him a name.
No, like Eric or it's like Eric, but not spelled that way, or something like Arnick or whatever.
Arnick. He on his like gallows, it has a third hole for his little third arm.
Love it.
I was like, Eric's, thank you, Eric's. I was like, justice for Eric's. He gets his own little shackles with the third arm hole.
I could not stop watching them in shackles. I was just like, what is happening here?
It was so weird. Yeah, what a morality test. But yeah, it does feel like a very like, to know how much Roddenberry was involved, I think, especially in that first season of TNG and like that transition, it does feel to me if he was the one who, because Larry Brody said the same thing of his script that he turned over, that by this, like Roddenberry did essentially a full rewrite of it and then was like, but don't worry, you'll still get your credit. And so I feel like this is the beginnings of Q.
Oh, maybe.
You know, here's what I'm concerned about is that prior to watching this, there was a sense of like, wow, Roddenberry, like he's like an icon. It's like, man, what has he done? It's been amazing. Like it's just amazing. And now I'm watching this and I'm just like, man, Roddenberry, like, what did you do? Like,
you know, all artists have ebbs and flows. All artists have good days and bad days. And sometimes you still have to produce even on a bad day.
I don't know. I think, I think, how should I say it in the best way? I think not everyone, even if you create a world, a universe, like you are one person, you're not going to be able to see as far as everyone, you know, like thousands, if not millions of people, and all these people wanting, you know, to live in this world. Like Lucas had the same problem, right? And, you know, at some point, like his vision was not great enough to see Star Wars grow.
Right. And I think it's done well when that has been like the door has been open, I think, to some really capable storytellers in that universe.
Yeah, 100%. And so like, you know, this is like really early. Like it's a couple years after the series you know, ends. He's trying some stuff. I think this is like, I'm a person who always respects a swing versus a bunt. Like, you know, go for the home run, and if you miss, it'll be fine. But if you just try to get onto base, I'm like, you wasted my time. I could get onto base. You know, that's you know, you kind of want to be inspired when you watch art.
You know, sometimes you have to have Lieutenant Sulu winking at the end of an episode and then in the next one conjuring a hot space babe. Well, like, and then immediately after you have to have a magic battle with pilgrims.
It's not even sometimes. You must.
You must.
That's right. So here's I don't know if you guys were old enough for this because I am, you know, so old, like, you know. But when I was in elementary school, occasionally they would have the film projector and they'll show this short film where I lived over and over again. It's called Winter of the Witch. And it's about this witch who basically starts making these magic blueberry pancakes. And when people ate it, it would be, you know, like real crazy. Winter of the Witch. And it's a short film. And it was done in the 70s. And like when I watch these two episodes, that's what I think of.
Yeah, it also sort of like reminds me of there was that era of like made for TV, quote unquote, kids movies of like Alice in Wonderland and like Back to Oz. And they were all these like weird, dark, like kids definitely shouldn't have been watching them, but were. Like, I just remember all these creepy creatures that would like linger in your brain at night as a kid. I mean, I love it all now, and it has definitely informed who I am as a person that I watched all of these movies.
Like, scars are deep.
I do remember Back to Oz being like,
crazy.
yeah, no, like this is insane.
And like the Baba, it's not called the Babadook. It was called something like that though, in the Alice in Wonderland made for TV movie from like the 70s. But it was terrifying, and it kind of has this similar vibe to these. Like these are obviously so much less scary, but it's this idea of like the Fallows are so cool and weird looking. Like their heads look like little morel mushrooms, and then they have almost like squid like little arm like scarves around them. But they're able to like speak and have medicine. You know, it's like these things where it's like these should be scary, but they're trying to make scary things friendly, which I find very interesting in kids media of this time.
Word.
But yeah. I also thought, what did y'all think of essentially the idea that there are like the idea that magic is what started the universe, if that's what is at the center.
Just the galaxy.
Okay.
Like from a different dimension, and like of course, blah blah blah. And I go, whatever.
I was thinking that is a novel concept. If you are high as balls,
like it's a space-time whirlwind, space energy whirlwind. Ooh. Warp 6, Captain. Warp 7. Warp 9. Warp 10.
I mean, you know what, Paul? You just said warp 6 and warp 10, and the thought is, here I am criticizing and going, "Hey, you're talking about magic and all this stuff, and that's weird, and you must be inebriated." But theoretically, what we're all fans of is somebody going, "You know, it'd be cool if there was a ship, not a boat,
magic. That's right.
but a space ship." That could go so fast that it could travel anywhere, and people just lived on this forever. Like, I mean, technically, that's a wild out kind of concept.
No, it's all just believe in the magic, you know. Woo!
Are y'all comic book people?
Yes,
I've been known to read a comic or two.
There's a series right now. I think the first two are out. The third one, I'm not sure. I think it's supposed to come out in April, but it's called The White Yacht. But essentially it's this idea that there is a boat that travels through space and time and like collects all of these different artifacts. And there's like a magical island where like a lot of these things sort of interact and stuff. And this guy's brother goes missing and somehow is linked to the island. Anyway, it's a cool series, but the idea of this like traveling vessel is very like linked to that comic book. So I'd recommend if you're looking for something.
Love it. Love it.
I've lost my question. Now it left my brain. I thought, did y'all have any inclination that this like being that they were talking about, this Stavos guy, at first I thought they were going to go towards Khan, like that this was somehow linked to Khan when they were talking about it being this like person. Yeah, the eugenics wars and stuff like that. What were your thoughts initially?
I didn't think they were going to directly go to Khan, but that was originally what I thought, and I was like, oh, okay, we're back to eugenics, and then it just got weird. So I wasn't like, I was like, oh, and then I was like, it's a giant.
Yeah, like I saw it, and I was like, oh, you know, is this the guy who, you know, Apollo, like, you know, in the original series where you find the remnants of the Greek gods?
Yeah.
So that's because they were so big.
And I also thought, that's funny, because I also thought about that with magic, because I thought for a minute when they were like, oh, we came to Earth and like you knew us as these beings, and I was like, oh, were these the original Greek gods, and like they've come back to their original planet, and that's where I thought we were going to go, which, you know, I saw what they were trying to do, I think, with the idea of Lucifer, or this originally being God, but I think, I don't know, to me, the Greek mythology stuff, I think would have been more fun to play with, especially with these like morality plays. And
have you always been so anti-pilgrim?
You know, they're not my faves.
I think, Mariah, to your point, if you look at the franchise Stargate, that's really what they did. They said, look, there's so much that you can do with the mythology, whether it's Greek mythology or Egyptian mythology or Norse mythology or Aztec mythology. There's so much material there that it just kind of writes itself for 10 seasons and 3 franchises. And I agree with you. I think if they had tapped into that, it would have been kind of interesting. And this whole episode, Paul, to your point, you look at the thumbnail and I thought we were going something else. And maybe that's what it was. I was excited because I was like, oh, we're doing one of those. They land on a planet that is like old time Earth, right? Like, oh, okay, right, lock and step with what we're used to. Here we go. And then it just went way left on me, and I was like, this is not Casino Royale at all.
The other thing that Magic reminded me of,
Clyde.
Thank you.
Was it reminded me of like playing a round of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, sure, I can see that.
I can see that too. Yep.
In that way. And so I was like, I wonder, game was first published in 1974. Okay. So after this, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was some heavy influence, because like, as they're playing like this battle back and forth and like the wits and the tests and like the world kept changing. And I was like, this just feels like when your DM doesn't know what they want to do with the campaign and they're just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, Or like you have one player who just keeps doing something stupid and it's like changed the whole course of what was originally planned. That was definitely the vibe for me, a bit for both episodes. I thought Chippy brings up the dead Thalia being stored away was creepy. And it reminded that hallway reminded me of one of the Alien franchise movies. Maybe it wasn't the newest one, but maybe Prometheus.
Sure.
When they land and there's like there's a giant hallway of like all of the dead, like giant versions of these like potentially the original beings. Yeah, the engineers. Yeah, that's what I remember.
Okay, was that Covenant? I don't know.
Covenant.
It was.
You lost me on Aliens a while.
I think it's Prometheus.
Like this Prometheus, and the Prometheus where they go into the various silos and
yeah.
And then the one after that is where they land on the planet where they what you call it, the Fassbender has killed all the
Covenant. Yeah.
Covenant. Yeah. Covenant. Was that it?
I think so.
I haven't seen Covenant, so I don't know.
Yes, it's Covenant. You're right.
There you go.
Yeah, that one also has Danny McBride in it. Fun fact.
My nerdness transcends many franchises.
Yeah, mine does as well. I was like, I just recently rewatched all of the Alien movies and prep for
Romulus.
For Romulus. So that's why I was like, I remember I just saw that scene. And yeah, Sheepy also brings up another point about the way that the laws of physics were different in the Magic universe, which I thought was, it seemed like, I thought Spock was like the quickest on it, but that is such an interesting idea. If you lived in a universe where your mind was the most powerful.
Well, there's an episode of Star Trek Next Generation about that. Like, it's where Wesley Crusher goes like with the Traveler and goes like, how does this look? Blah blah blah. It goes like, oh, it just seems like you're trying to say that energy and matter and thought are not the separate things that we think of. That's dangerous thinking for primitives. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, but that's why we have in Prodigy, right, where he goes like time, energy, thought.
That's true.
So maybe they're all linked, the Travelers and the magic people.
That would be interesting. Does that mean that Travelers are doing the work of the devil?
I'm not.
Or is the devil just a traveler?
That's right. I know, it's like that was my favorite Prodigy, production design, like that pyramid, like the Wesley pyramid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Prodigy was great. I'm really sad we're still not going to get any more.
Me too.
Yeah.
Speaking of animated kid shows, that is interesting to kind of frame up, I guess, of our the spectrum of Star Trek shows, right? Like this is the last series that was made for an audience of kids. And then to compare it to, Prodigy. And I think we talked about this a lot when we first started reviewing the series, about how now there are things like educational and science consultants on shows, to make sure that the lessons being portrayed to kids is like actually doing something for their noggins. But I argue that these shows do something in the realm of expanding your imagination, which I think is something
high imagination. Like I said, no notes. These two
episodes, absolutely high imagination. And I think it's like I don't know. I think we've missed on some opportunities for imagination for kids lately.
Yeah, no, I think what happens is, how should I say?
I don't know, because I look at Prodigy and I go, Prodigy did both,
but
I mean, Murph is incredibly imaginative.
Yeah, but I think what happens is like you start something new, like something crazy, and the whole universe is your playground. But as you get better, you actually refine and limit your craft to like things that are effective. But there is brilliance in like the crazy. I think of like Queen, for example. Like you have like Queen, like Bohemian Rhapsody. That's a Star Trek the animated series song in comparison to like some other things now that are much more catchy and streamlined. But there's no Scaramouche, and he's not gonna let me go.
Yeah, I think, well, I also wonder too, I think a lot of this has to do with the people who write the checks for things that we're allowed to make now. I think there's a lot more resistance to things that are outside the box. Like you very much have to prove that you're going to have the ability to make back the money for these corporate entities. And a lot of times things with big imaginations, they consider them higher risk.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Like it's, but here's the tragedy of like algorithms and stuff like that, is that algorithms can tell you what people are watching, and you can give them more of what they're watching, but it's only like risk and imagination to go, oh, here's what a person's going to want. They don't know they want it yet, but they're going to want it.
Yeah, I think. Go, Mariah.
Oh, I was like, yeah, to that point, like an example I would give is there's a weird person on TikTok that I follow who's now been on like KCRW with, they have a weird little, like very ugly little fox puppet that just like takes you through goofy guided meditations.
Well, that sounds like obviously we need that.
It's Estelle. If you're looking up, if you want to find Estelle, and it's like a bunch of things. Sometimes it's just like positive affirmations with Estelle. And it's like all these weird, goofy 80s style backgrounds and graphics, and then this weird little fox puppet named Estelle.
Like I hear where we're going, but I had to bring up like the Hanna-Barbera shows.
Thunder the Barbarian.
And yeah, I mean, but I'm looking at like the Jetson, which was like in the 60s. Like you want to talk about imaginative and interesting, but not necessarily
crazy. Is it imaginative though? It's still a nuclear family. The dad goes to work. They have a maid. Like it's just
a
like
robot maid.
Well, have you met George Jetson and his wife?
Isn't it wasn't originally, I'd have to look this up.
It's basically the Flintstones in space. It's the same thing.
But
yes.
I feel like I read somewhere, or maybe it was like a weird alternative, like a movie pitch where Rosie is like the soul of George Jetson's mother in the robot.
Oh, that's canon.
Yeah, it's like it's
No,
her
no, I'm
mind.
kidding. I'm
No,
kidding.
right?
I'm
No,
kidding.
I think it's her
Like,
mind.
that,
Anyway,
that'd be creepy as hell.
there's some weird lore around around Rosie's
Like having your
origin
mom
stories.
essence as a maid, as cleaning up
Mhm.
after you and your wife and your that's dark. That's dark. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I love where certain children's programming has come today, and I do get the fact that what we're talking about is there was a time where it was just you were just trying to entertain, like it was just you were just looking for fun and creative and kind of wacky, and it was just entertainment. And now, every show for the most part, at least for children, is targeted to be somewhat educational, whether that is like hard math and science or reading or socio-emotional health, but there's always this undercurrent of trying to edutain you, if you will. Whereas back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and probably early 90s, it was just like, is it funny and are you watching? Because if you watch, then then we can advertise for it, because ultimately that's what it was about, right? Like, unless you're talking about PBS, the whole point of Saturday mornings was to get you to watch TV, so at the commercial break they would show you something that you then go ask your parents to buy you. Like, that was the point. And I think we've gotten a little further away from that.
I mean, hopefully. It feels like, it's like, it's funny how capitalism works, right? Because it's like, it goes from, I think there was a lawsuit about the amount of commercials on Saturday morning cartoons. I think that was like a big part of that. And so then it became like, oh, kids programming should be either social emotional learning or some sort of educational component, or, something along those lines. And so maybe less advertising slots available, but now it's harder to make any of those things because now they're like, we don't have all the commercials to put in front of all of these cartoons.
Sure, yeah.
And to fact check myself, so in 2017, it was a Jetsons comic that DC Comics put out, where Rosie is reimagined as George's mother, who was placed in a robotic body by Next Life, and she only informed Judy that she was going to go through with the procedure prior to it. So,
yeah, that seems like some DC stuff.
Yeah, they love doing some weird, dark things.
Dark.
But yeah, I think these episodes to me were very fun. I think this is what I wanted from the animated series. Like episodes like this.
Like just Gonzo.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think
I know this was the other thing, Choopy. Can you imagine parents these days if they saw a character drawing a pentagram? It's like,
you mean a character?
Yeah, you go nuts.
With pointy ears, and
this whole episode would have been boycotted, and it would have.
I know. I looked up to see if there was any bad response to this episode when it came out. Nothing that I could really find on the internet as far as like it being a zeitgeisty moment where people were against it, which I thought was really interesting as a setup, especially because I know there was a lot of backlash for things like The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby and those movies. But those were also movies where women were the main characters, so perhaps that is part of the reason why.
Yeah, it was rough. Like women and witches.
Women and witches. There was I watched this like really interesting. It was news footage from like the 80s about, it was a local news coverage of Satanic Panic from like the 80s. And they're in this like small town in Louisiana, and they were trying to say that they were being like overrun by like Satanists, and they're like, look at this graffiti. And the graffiti was just so like basic, dumb teenage kid graffiti, like there was like nothing inherently evil about it. These guys, were talking about like their cows have shown up dead. And I'm like, there are animals that do that. And then, there was a series of other like very unfortunate events that I think could very easily be explained in other ways. But all of these people just like refuse to believe that like crime could happen in their small town, and then it has to be these Satanists. And then, there's been stuff happening at like, anyway, it was dark and interesting and weird. But
well, I mean, there was a time where people thought that music was satanic, right, and they wouldn't let you play music, and then you'd have to race tractors, and hang out and skip school and things like that. And, until Kevin Bacon showed up and made everything okay. There was a time where that was commonplace.
Did you grow up in the Footloose town, Clyde?
I did not. I wish I had. It would have been very weird as the only black guy in town. It would have been pretty awkward there. But I would have been dancing.
Would have been dancing.
Like at the beginning of the episode?
Yeah, when we danced for a theme song. Anything else to say about these two episodes?
I mean, I feel like I'm really generous with my adoration of these two episodes, and like I have to be clear, they're bad, but they're so good at being bad.
They come full circle.
Like this is like the universe. Like there's a big bang, and then there's a big crunch. But this is like it's the universe. See that I'm not even high, but I can like try to get in that mindset.
How many Fruity Pebbles did you have, Paul?
Exactly. Like it's
Paul's on his fourth bowl.
That's right. There are 4 bowls.
I can't quite go that they're so bad they're good, but I can acknowledge that I do like what they're doing for the most part with the alien design. And for 73, we're getting some real creativity in what aliens look like. And the thing that I appreciate about the plants is they were kind of sort of humanoid, but not quite really. And we're getting to the point where not everything has to look like a human, which is great because it means that Kirk won't try and seduce it.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
You're right.
So plantist.
I'm really disappointed in you.
You're right.
I didn't know you were anti-plant.
I
did not know you were anti-plant.
Kirk can seduce just about anything. So
yeah. These two episodes also remind me there was the Netflix series that came out a couple of years ago that was like a bunch of like animators and scientists and like biologists got together and they essentially made a whole series that was about if there were life on these different planets with different like parameters in place. So if like the gravity was as high as Jupiter and like this was the atmosphere and it was all of these crazy creature designs. I'll try to find it and post it in the Patreon Slack. But I just remember watching it and I was like, oh, everyone who worked on this project did drugs before they came to the meeting. Like, because the creatures were so wild. It was like so crazy. Yeah.
I'm this is an interesting ride that we're on, and I'm glad I'm on it with all of you and our listeners.
The other fun piece of updates is based on the Strange New World trailer. It says coming this summer.
Oh yeah,
so
baby.
We'll have Summer of Trek, which will be very exciting. Our current pacing for the animated show series has us wrapping up in May, so we'll have to find something to kind of cover us between May and June, but maybe we can do a quick seasonal recap of Strange New Worlds in time for that.
I am really like excited about Strange New Worlds, and I haven't seen the trailer. I'm just
Rhys Darby is in this season, you guys, and I'm so
the Rhys Darby.
The Rhys Darby.
The Rhys Darby.
Who's Rhys Darby?
I don't know. I'm
Did
looking
you watch?
it up now.
Oh my gosh, guys! Did you not watch Our Flag Means Death?
I did.
He plays
bits and
Steve.
pieces.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
he's also
he's
Marie
hilarious.
from Flight of the Conchords. Yeah.
Yep. That's what I know him more from Flight of the Conchords. But he's also done some voice acting.
He's in like a lot of stuff. He's voice acted like Bob's Burgers, quite a few things. But yeah, Rhys Darby is gonna be incredible.
Love it.
It's gonna be great. I think that is it, y'all. Unless you have anything else to add.
I got nothing. I spent all my energy believing in the magic.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Chibi thinks July 31. Oh.
No, so I got kids and they love Kif. And so Rhys Darby's in Kif. I think he plays like principal secretary or something like that. And so I've heard him. So they play the songs. So I hear him all the time. But yeah.
that'll be really fun. I'm excited about it. I had just thought of something else and then it fully left my brain. It's all right. We'll talk to you all next week. Until next time, y'all. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.
Later, everyone.
Later.
Bye. Bye-bye. Believe.